everyone, welcome to Watch It Played. My name is Rodney Smith, and this is...
Pat McDonald, and we're here to give you an overview of Zombicide Green Horde.
That's right, Simon hired us to give you a sample of the gameplay.
Oh, we're getting paid for this?
Oh, well, one of us is.
Is it me?
We'll talk about that later. Right now, I just want to bring to your attention that this game is on Kickstarter at the time of this recording. I should mention that what we have here is a prototype copy of the game, so all the pieces seen are not necessarily the final art, text, or production.
The mini miniatures here are resin rather than the final plastic, but this should give you a good sense of what will be coming with the game.
Though, as it's a Simon game, you can likely expect a whole lot more to get unlocked during the campaign itself.
Zombicide Green Horde is a cooperative game where 1 to 6 players work together to complete the quest objectives of the scenario they are playing, survive, and kill as many zombies as possible.
Zombicide Black Plague was previously released, which brought their core Zombicide experience to a fantasy era. We have videos for both of these games, which you can find in the description of this video if you're interested.
Black Plague and Green Horde are set in the same universe and timeline, and are fully compatible, as well as being entirely standalone.
So you could buy Green Horde and have a full experience without needing Black Plague.
The game we're showing today takes place on the western borders, where the zombie plague affected not only humans, but also the orc hordes, who just became stronger and hungrier than ever, craving a different kind of food.
Yes, they developed a taste for human flesh. But these lands are yours and you must hold them from the coming invasion. For this video, we're going to be taking a look at the first scenario, Dragon Bile Quest, but we want to get you right into the action and show you as many key features as possible, so you're going to be joining us mid-session.
That's right, we've already started, orc zombies are hot on our tail, and we've got work to do.
In this scenario, we need to go around and pick up each of these red objective tokens. We've already gathered 2, but we have a few more to go. We then also have to collect the Dragon Bile. These are the face-down red bat cards that you see here.
And we already grabbed 1 from this house, so we're off to a good start.
You'll also notice some blue face-down cards. These are random powerful weapons that were also placed.
Such as this devastating lava burst which we grabbed earlier.
We're playing a 2-player game here, so each of us has control of 3 different heroes. And on your turn, you activate your heroes one at a time in the order of your choosing. I'm going first, and I'm going to activate the Dwarf Baron. Each hero gets 3 actions, and for my first action, I'm going to try to bash in this door because on the other side is an objective that I need.
Apparently, every door is locked in the Zombicide universe.
Right, there's no keys, there's no handles. You just have to bash every single door in. I'm going to try to do that with the sword I have. The stats for it say I get to roll 1 die and I'll succeed on a 4 or higher. Here we go. And Baron's done it.
And I imagine that made a lot of noise.
Well, yes, that's one thing in this game we have to be conscious of. A lot of the actions you perform can create noise. We see that here on this sword where it says if you try to open a door with it, it will make noise, so we put a noise token here. This can affect how the zombies move when they try to figure out who they're going to attack.
You know, I think the townsfolk probably actually just barricaded themselves in.
That probably makes more sense than them just removing the handles or not having locks on their doors. Well, either way, once we get inside one of these buildings, we're going to find zombies. So we'll have to spawn them into each of the rooms.
And you can tell which are separate rooms by the borders.
Right, we've got a room here, 1 large room here, and another here as well. So as we spawn, we'll go from left to right, flipping over the top cards of this deck. So into this room, we're going to be spawning 1 orc fatty. We're not going to go into detail about all of the rules for playing Zombicide here, but I'll just mention right now, based on the experience of our heroes, we only read the instructions here on the bottom of these cards, which is why this orc fatty is going into the room. But you will notice something different. Zombicide Green Horde introduces the concept of a horde. And anytime new zombies spawn, you have to look and see if there's a symbol here to the left. This tells you how many of that same type of zombie to add to the horde, which is an area off to the side of the board that you dedicate to this purpose. So I'm going to add another orc fatty from the supply to this area that is our current horde. And while we're here, maybe we should talk about some of these different zombie types that are in this version of the game.
Well, first up is the basic orc walker. It functions just like the human zombie would from Black Plague. However, it deals an extra damage, so it'll be hitting for 2 whenever it attacks. Next up is the orc fatty. Again, functioning the same as in Black Plague, except hitting harder, this time dealing 3 damage.
So that means in 1 hit, it could kill a hero.
That's right. And lastly, these are the orc runners, which are actually goblins and function exactly like the runners did in Black Plague.
Those are the main types of zombies, but within each of those groups, you'll find some different sculpts to add some variety to your table. We'll go back to finishing the spawning in this room. We've drawn a card for each of them. The one here says we need to add 2 zombie walkers, and that means we need to add 1 to the horde. And this one, thankfully, says nothing's added. Well, Baron's not afraid of a couple of zombies, so for his next action, he's going to move directly into this room. And with his last action, I'm going to attack.
And he can attack either of these walkers because they're in the same room as him.
And all of that relates to the weapons and equipment that you have. And you'll notice each hero has one of these trays to track their equipment, their special abilities, their experience, their wounds, what they're wearing, and even what they have in their backpack. With the sword I have, I get to roll 1 die and I'll hit on a roll of 4 or higher.
And luckily these swords are deadly, but silent.
That's a good point. Unlike bashing the door, this won't make any noise. All right, let's get a 4 or higher. There it is, a 5. So I'll remove this walker, and it provides me with 1 experience point, which I track here. So I'll move this from the 5 to the 6. All right, next up is Johann's to activate. He sees Baron in a bit of trouble there, so 2 of my actions will be to move. 1, 2, and with the 3rd action, I'm going to fire at that zombie through the door. Now, the problem here is there's a friendly character also in that space. In the original Zombicide, if you fired into a space with a friendly character, all of your hits always hit them first. But with Black Plague, there was a change. You still have to target zombies in a particular order, but you'll only ever hit friendly characters on die rolls that miss.
So just make sure you don't miss.
Okay, Pep, I'll do my best. Johann has this spiked bow, which will allow me to roll 1 die and hits on a 4 or higher. And there it is, that's a hit. This zombie is removed from the board, and I'll gain 1 experience. Now instead, if I had missed, this would do 1 damage to Baron. But Baron is actually wearing armor. And in that case, anytime a character is hit, they can possibly avoid any damage. This armor says 3+. So if Baron was rolling his armor, any rolls of 3 or higher would block the damage. That said, Johann was a good shot, so I didn't have to worry about it anyway. Well, the last character I have to activate is Asim, and he can hear some noises on the other side of these green hedges. These hedges are a new characteristic found on many of the tiles in Zombicide Green Horde. There's also some separate tokens for them, which you'll use in certain scenarios or even when you're making your own. They're considered quite tall, which means they block line of sight and you can't fire a ranged weapon through them. But when using a move action, you can move across them. However, there are some risks. If there are no friendly characters who have line of sight into the space that you're crossing the hedge into, you must roll a die. And if you roll a 1, well, there's a little something extra you weren't expecting there. You'll place a regular Orc Walker. Well, this isn't ideal, but I have 2 actions left which I'll use now to attack. These zombies don't realize the trouble they're in. Asim has a falchion. When he attacks with it, he gets to roll 3 dice, and they hit on 4 or more. All right, let's see if I can get some 4s or higher. Not bad, I got 2 successes, so I'll remove 2 of these walkers, and Asim gains 2 experience.
Yeah, those walkers are pretty easy to kill with only 1 hit point each.
And I still have another attack left, so I'll roll these again. But that time it wasn't enough.
Hey, you gotta roll bad eventually.
You're right, I've been doing pretty good so far. Well, that ends my character's activation, so now it's over to Pep.
All right, first up, I'm gonna be activating Rolf.
Asim's happy to hear that.
Yeah, I'm gonna come clean up the little bit of zombie you have left behind.
Now you're gonna have to cross a hedge to do that.
Right, because Asim has line of sight to that space, being in it, I don't have to roll for a surprise zombie. But I do have to roll for my attack.
Right, you've got a Norse sword, lets you roll 1 die, and a 4 or higher is a hit. Ooh, not quite.
No, that's not gonna do it.
Do you want to attack again?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, before you do, I just want to point out one other thing about equipment in Green Horde. Sometimes you'll be able to find sets of equipment, things that go together. You have a Norse sword, and this is a Norse shield. They each have their own abilities, but when you have both, they each gain a benefit. For example, with the Norse shield, the Norse sword allows you to roll 2 more dice when attacking.
Well, that sounds great.
Okay, let's see if you can get a 4 or higher on one of these 3 dice. Well, those 2 were successes, so that miss we don't even worry about. This zombie has been slain.
Easily.
So that means Rolf is going to gain 1 experience.
Next up, I'll be activating Megan, and I really wish I could use this lava burst that we picked up earlier, but I don't have enough experience.
You raise a good point there, Pep, because each piece of equipment can only be used if you have a certain amount of experience. And this is shown by the colored diamonds at the top. Right now, Megan's in the blue experience level, so there would need to be a blue diamond at the top of a piece of equipment to use it, like in the case of this telekinetic blast. However, with the lava burst, you can see that diamond has been removed. I guess this leaves you with only one option then, Pep. You will have to use the telekinetic blast, which will let you roll 1 die and you hit on a 4 or higher.
All right, let's give it a shot.
Ooh, not very good there, Pep. That's a miss.
Even so, the telekinetic blast is pretty noisy, so I have to put down a noise token.
Want to attack again?
I sure do.
Oh, Pep, another miss. But you're making lots of noise.
Well, one last chance to get rid of at least one of these zombies.
Ah, you did it. Nicely done. Now this spell is ranged, so we have to use the targeting priorities. We've got an Orc Walker and 2 runners. These runners are very nimble, so walkers will always get hit first, we'll remove it and give you 1 experience point. Oh yes, and we can't forget the extra noise token.
And that's all her actions, so on to the next character.
Ah, Pep, it's my favorite time.
Yeah, it's Selly's turn, and she's standing next to a catapult.
A character in the same space as the catapult can spend 3 actions to either move or fire it. Moving it allows you to go with it to an adjacent space, while firing it allows you to target any space on the board.
As long as it's at least 2 spaces away.
And when you fire the catapult, you can pick one of 3 possible types of ammunition to load it with, which you'll find explained here on this helpful card.
Wait, the catapult doesn't make noise?
Look, it's very well oiled. No matter what you fire out of it, they won't hear it coming. The 3 things you can fire from it are scatter shot, grape shot, or a boulder.
Each allows you to roll a different number of dice and deal different amounts of damage. But either way, they always hit on a 4+.
Well, what do you want to load up with this attack?
I think we just need to use scatter shot.
Which will let us roll 6 dice, doing 1 damage for each hit. Pep, I don't want to question your judgment, but rolling 6 dice when at most we have a space here with 3 targets seems a little excessive.
That's true, but there's something you said earlier that wasn't quite accurate.
Do tell.
The catapult doesn't just target things on the game board, it can target things anywhere in the world. You remember that oncoming zombie horde?
The one here?
That's right, we can fire that.
Ooh, I love it. Is that what we're doing?
That's what we're doing.
Okay, so you're gonna roll 6 dice.
Load up that scatter shot. No, you gotta make noises, Rodney.
I don't know what this would sound like. Clunk, clunk.
Perfect, let's do it.
All right. Oh my goodness, this looks pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. Now we still have to follow the targeting priority here. So regular orc walkers would get hit first, and there's 4 of them. Sometimes you will want to use the different types of ammunition, even though you roll less dice. Doing that extra damage is necessary. Fatties, for example, will never die being hit with a weapon that does only 1 damage. You need a weapon that does at least 2.
Like this lava burst would have done if I'd had enough XP.
And then there's the Abomination, which needs 3 damage to kill it. If the weapon you're attacking with only does a damage of 1, even if you hit multiple times with it, it will never kill an enemy like this. You need a weapon that specifically does 3 damage.
And the catapult's boulder definitely does 3 damage.
So unlike Black Plague, where you could only use a thing called Dragon Bile to kill abominations, now with a lucky catapult shot, you can as well. As Seely wraps up her turn, we're going to first give her the experience points she gained from all those zombies she killed with the catapult, and this puts her into the yellow area of her experience.
I feel like I'm gonna get something.
You are going to get something because each character has special abilities here at the bottom, and as you level up, you'll be able to unlock new ones. This one here, for example, shows the yellow color, and that's the one you've just unlocked, so we'll put a peg there, and this gives you an additional action that you can use every turn.
So I could use that right now.
Yeah, you absolutely can.
I don't want to though, I'm here with the catapult, so I'm just gonna pass.
Once you cross into the orange experience area, you'll pick one of these 2 abilities, and once you get to this high red one, you pick one of these 3.
Well, what happens when I get further than that?
I'm glad you asked, Pep, because in this version of the game, there's now an ultra red mode. When you gain experience past this point, you wrap back around and keep counting. So if you happen to reach the orange level again, you can then pick the orange skill you didn't take previously. And likewise with the red skills.
That sounds pretty great.
But what isn't great is the zombie phase, and that's happening right now. All right, so first we have to activate the zombies on the board.
Let's activate them all at once and confuse everyone.
That's a terrible idea. We'll do them one at a time. Let's start with this grouping here. Each zombie gets 1 action, and if there's a hero in their space, they'll use it to attack that hero. If there isn't one, then they'll move to the space with survivors in line of sight with the most noise. But these zombies are surrounded by hedges and can't see anything. So instead, they'll just move to the space with the most noise in it. The most noise on the board is actually right here. We have a total of 3 noise tokens, and each character also counts as their own point of noise. So 4 noise here. It doesn't matter that there's actually a group of survivors even closer. The zombies don't know that.
Which is a fun way to keep characters safe sometimes.
That's true, because one of the actions you can take in your turn is just to make noise. That can be a good strategy to distract them. Well, now we have a new problem, because there's actually 2 different paths the zombies could take to get to their target. And when that happens, they'll split up. So this zombie will go here, and this one will go in this direction. These guys might not be so safe after all. Well, we have a fatty down here. He has easy line of sight to this dwarf, so that's where he's going to move.
And he won't attack because he only has 1 action.
And he used it to move. But things change a bit with this group because they're runners.
Right, they get 2 actions.
They can't use the first one to attack, so instead they'll move. They have clear line of sight to this survivor, so that's where they'll go. Now they each have this 1 action left over, and we know what that means.
Looks like I'm getting attacked.
Yes, each of those will do 1 damage.
Right, when zombies attack, you don't roll any dice, they just deal their damage. Unless you have armor of some kind.
Which you don't, so you're going to be taking 2 damage here. And if a hero ever takes 3 damage, they're removed from the game. If all of the heroes die, then the players lose. All right, moving on to this next group. They again have no line of sight to any heroes, so they'll go where the most noise is, and again, that's definitely here. Let's do these two runners first. They'll both enter this space, and then with their second action, they're gonna have to split up because there's more than one path they could take, either going this way or through the hedge and this way. So one will go here, and the other will go here. And then our regular orc walker here will just move one space.
And the fatty will just move one space here.
Now one other element to these tiles are water holes, which you can see marked along these spaces. I won't go into all the rules about these, but they can slow down movement, they can block movement, and catapults are destroyed if they enter them. With movement complete, it's now time to spawn new zombies. New zombies will spawn in spaces with these tokens. You'll draw a card off the top of this deck for each. And here we've drawn an orc necromancer. This is a very special figure, and one of them comes in this base set. You'll notice at the very bottom here, it tells us that we need to add an orc walker, fatty, and runner to the horde.
Which I've just taken care of for you, Rodney.
Thank you very much. When a necromancer first appears, you also put an additional zombie spawn token on this necromancer side into the same space. You then immediately resolve a regular zombie spawn for this new token. So we'll flip over another card, and this one, oh my goodness. This one says enter the horde. This is bad. This means we now take all of the zombies we've been collecting in the horde space, and they go into the space that spawned them. This is unbelievable. The necromancer has truly summoned an army for us to deal with. The one upside to an enter the horde card is any other spawning you're required to do, you don't have to.
So just to be clear, we would normally spawn zombies here and in this spot in the corner, but because we had the enter the horde card come up, we don't need to.
Thank goodness. I think we're gonna have enough on our hands anyway. And I also want to mention a few things about this orc necromancer. He's a unique figure because he doesn't want to fight. He just wants to escape. Every turn from now on when he activates, he'll try to get to the closest spawn token that isn't in the space he came from. If he can do that, he'll turn his necromancer spawn token, which is buried in here, into a permanent normal spawn token.
And if there's ever 6 spawn tokens on the map, you automatically lose.
Well, Pep, everyone, we survived that round of Zombicide Green Horde.
Barely.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna survive any more of these rounds. We need some better equipment.
Yeah, some bigger weapons, some tougher armor, anything to help combat that giant oncoming horde.
Well, with the search action, when you're inside a building, you can draw cards off the top of this red deck, and then you might find things like a dwarven hammer. That'd be a lot better than these short swords we've been waving around.
Yeah, and if we can't find anything, maybe we can just avoid them long enough to complete our objective.
Yeah, or fire the catapult at them a few more times. That was effective.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay. Well, listen, hopefully that gives you a pretty good overview, not just of how Zombicide works, but specifically Zombicide Green Horde. If you have any questions at all, feel free to refer to the Kickstarter page. You can also put them in the comments below. We'll try to answer them to the best of our ability as soon as we get a chance. But until the next episode, thanks for watching.